Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Atherton City Council for April 17th, 2013 at 7 p.m. Shall we all stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Councilmember Weiss?
Here.
Councilmember Douglas?
Here.
Vice Mayor Carlson?
Here.
Mayor Lewis?
Present. Councilmember Widmer is excused. So tonight we have 3 proclamations for our enjoyment, and I'm honored to have guests present. We have the Dispatcher of the Week, we have National Police Week, and a West Nile Virus and Mosquito Vector Control Awareness Week. So first, the Dispatcher of the Week. So earlier today, our Chief of Police forwarded to the City Manager a tribute to dispatchers, which I would love to have included into the public record. And so I've given a copy to the City Clerk to include. It's lengthy, but it's poignant. And if it's on the website, I think it'd be very touching for the residents to be able to read it. Thank you for forwarding it on. And you get a sense of the dedication to our public safety communications personnel and the outstanding job that they do. So Chief, would you like to present the proclamation, or I guess Officer John Mattis is going to present the proclamation? Let's see, get the right one here. There you go. Oh, here. I can reach over there. Thank you.
Proclamation in recognition to Atherton's public safety communication personnel. Whereas the City Council of the Town of Atherton, along with the entire community, would like to honor contributions to all communications personnel public safety arena for your continued efforts to preserve public safety through 911, non-emergency lines, dispatch of our police personnel to thousands of calls for service each year across the nation. And whereas each year, the second week of April is dedicated to the men and women to serve public safety telecommunicators. It is the first conceived by Patricia Anderson in Contra Costa County Sheriff's Office in 1981. It was observed only at that agency for 3 years. Members in Virginia and North Carolina chapters of the Association of Public Safety Communications Officials, APCO, became involved in the 1980s. By the early 1990s, a national APCO organization convinced Congress the need of a formal proclamation. Representative Edward J. Markey, Democrat of Massachusetts, introduced and became H.J. Resolution 284 to create the National Public Safety Telecommunications Week. According to congressional procedure, it was introduced twice, in 1993, 1994, and became permanent without the need of a yearly introduction. Whereas the City Council of Town of Atherton would like to declare National Public Telecommunication Week, April 14th through the 20th, 2013, has been set aside so everyone can be made aware of the hard work and dedication which provides a vital link to the public safety services of which they have to come to rely every day. Whereas the City Council of the Town of Atherton wish to thank you for all your sacrifices you make to create a better, safer world for the public. Your commitment to the profession is appreciated by the public safety communications community and citizens you serve.
Good job. Thank you for your work. Thank you.
So our second proclamation is in honor of the National Police Week, in memory of many and in honor of all. This proclamation tonight is especially fitting and emotionally moving during this time of National Mourning. Chris Vigil, would you like to come up? And as many of you may have noticed that our flag is flying at half-mast, half-staff, per order of the President of the United States because of the terrorist bombings in Boston. And so before I ask our chief and Chris to read this proclamation, I'd like to ask if we could just take maybe 30 seconds of a moment of silence, not only in honor of the people who have experienced this tragedy in Boston on Monday, the Boston Marathon, but of the men and women who are honored here in this proclamation. So if we have just a few seconds of silence. Thank you. Thank you very much for indulging me.
Thank you. Proclamation. In memory of many, in honor of all, National Police Week, May 11th through the 17th, 2013. In recognition of National Peace Officers Memorial Day. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day. The calendar week in which May 15th falls is recognized as National Police Week. Whereas the candlelight vigil is traditionally held on May 13th, regardless of the day of the week on which it falls. The National Peace Officers Memorial Day service is hosted by the Fraternal Order of Police and the Fraternal Order of Police Auxiliary. And whereas the Town Council and the community of the town of Atherton would like to honor the men and women of law enforcement for their never-ending commitment to the protection of life and property. And whereas the Town Council would like to honor those two fallen officers who lost their lives in the line of duty in 2012, Deputy Robert Lee Paris Jr. and Officer Kenyon M. Youngstrom. And whereas the Town Council would like to honor those 10 officers killed in the line of duty enrolled from prior years, Deputy Ray C. Bogart, Deputy Constable J. Edward Brown, Officer Daniel Clark, Deputy Constable Charles A. Morinville, Officer Timothy Duane, Deputy William F. Edwards, Sheriff William Elam, Deputy Constable Arthur Miner, Inspector Brian Olcomedy, Officer Robert J. Quirk. That's where we go.
So our third proclamation is a proclamation of the City Council of the Town of Atherton proclaiming the week of April 21st through April 27th as West Nile Virus and Mosquito and Vector Control Awareness Week. I'm not going to read every word of the proclamation, but in 2012, the West Nile virus resulted in 19 deaths in California residents and sickened over 470 individuals in 31 counties. And they tested for positive of the virus, of which over 300 developed neuroinvasive disease. And because of adequately funded mosquito control, disease surveillance, and public awareness, these programs are the best way to prevent the outbreaks. So the good news is so far in 2013, there have been no cases of the West Nile virus in California found. So therefore, be it resolved by the Town of Atherton City Council that the week of April 21st through the 27th, 2013 be designated as the West Nile Virus and Mosquito Vector Control Awareness Week in the Town of Atherton. And I urge you all to be vigilant and call the vector control offices immediately if you see excess standing water or mosquitoes breeding or dead birds or animals that you need to have taken away. They are very, very helpful. They will come out immediately and take care of your property. And I'm going to read in their phone number. It's very easy. It's 877-WNV, like for West Nile virus, BIRD. So you can go to their website, westnile.ca.gov. So they provide a valuable service for our community. Okay. So now's the time for our public comments. And this portion of the meeting is for members of the public who wish to address the council on any matter that is not on the agenda. But if, because of time constraints, you need to address the council about something that is on the agenda, just remember that if you stay later and the agenda item comes up, you've already used your 3 minutes. While it's nice to know who's speaking for the record, you're not required to give your name or address unless you wish. I see a public wanting to make comment. Come right ahead.
Good evening, John Ruggiero, 10 Stockbridge. First, I'd like to compliment Chief Flint and Lieutenant Wade for leading our Atherton police that we have now, very professionalism and unbelievably good. They're doing a great job. Well, I wanted to speak to a letter that I received from. In fact, my grandson, by the way, was an Atherton cadet, Cheston, for some time. But and I wanted to speak also to the Police Week, killed in the line of duty. One of my partners, Brian McDonald, was killed by a bomb at Park Station, 1971, and very appropriate with the bombing going off in New York. And that year we had in San Francisco 8 funerals to attend of officers killed in the line of duty. But anyway, getting back to the reason I'm here, I received in the mail, as we all do, a letter from the Atherton Police Officers Association. Now, they're not connected apparently with the Teamsters anymore, but in October, November, we also received a letter. But this letter strikes me as trying to strike fear in some of our hearts in Atherton. Now, this is the Atherton Police Association letter. It says Atherton Police Officers Association. Great. This is the San Francisco Veteran Police Officers Association bulletin for the month of April. It has, in good standing, 932 ex-officer members. Well, according to my information, I wasn't aware of this previously, the Atherton Police Officers Association is not consisted of only officers. There's civilian employees and so on involved in this. So I still think the name Atherton Police Officers Association should at least be notified that other than officers are in this unit, maybe Atherton Police Officers Association and associates or whatever. But getting back to the letter, on the paragraph that is interesting, the second paragraph, many shifts are being run with a sergeant and only 2 officers in the field, possibly. This does not allow to provide the safety that you deserve. Well, this morning I talked to my son, John Ruggiero, who is an officer in the Richmond District in San Francisco, and he's on patrol here. And the Richmond District is big, almost as big as Atherton, just about, with approximately 40 to 60,000 residents. They only had 3 officers on patrol this morning. And in fact, they'd like to have the luxury of Atherton having the 2 officers on patrol to patrol a town of 7,000 employees, that's 3,000 each. In San Francisco, they're doing 20, 30,000 citizens each. But this is a scare letter. We can exist with 2 officers on patrol, not permanently, obviously, but occasionally they do have that.
John, you can wrap up. We'll give you a little extra time, but just
it's already 3 minutes.
You've got 3 minutes.
Well, basically that's what I had in mind, and the next time I come to the council, I'll finish up on it.
Okay.
But one quick thing: they mentioned 2 failed parcel tax measures, which did occur at that time, and why they failed and I can tell you, I was here many years, they failed because the citizens had lost faith in the council members. None of you were involved, by the way. And the citizens finally showed the town that they could control the money that's coming in. And the first one was shot down, and they put it right back on the ballot about 4 or 5 months later. It was shot down again. The third one, we all got together, and it won by 12 votes. So be very careful of the way the town is ran. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other members of the public that would like to speak at this time? Yes, Joshua.
Good evening, Mayor Lewis and City Councilman. My name is Carlos Martin, and I'm here today to introduce myself. I'm running for City Council in South San Francisco. I know I'm a little bit far away, but I wanted to come out here and introduce myself and open a dialogue with the neighboring city of Atherton. A little bit about myself. I'm the Vice Chairman now of the Planning Commission in South San Francisco, recently been reappointed. And I want to talk about a few things that I feel that are important to the city. It might be, and I believe it could be relevant to the city here in Atherton. Number one is we are, in South San Francisco, have a very large biotech community. There's over 100 biotech companies in the city, and I believe that that number is still growing. I believe the number is actually a little bit higher, employing 13,000 people from all over the county and the area, from San Mateo County, Oakland, San Francisco. So it's an important area regionally because we have a lot going on in the city in terms of technology that we're developing, and B, there's several thousands of people are relying on the area for employment. Second, I want to be a responsible neighbor with all of our cities in the community. I want to be an advocate for environmental responsibility and sustainable design, understanding that what goes on in the city may have regional impacts, and we should be sensitive to the needs and the interests of our neighbors. And lastly, I think it's important to have a dialogue with other cities to discuss best practices and learnings about issues that all cities may face, from education, affordable housing, emergency responsiveness, and a number of other issues that I may not know about today, but I'd love to speak with people here in the city of Atherton, the leadership here, and understand how the two cities can work well together. So that's who I am. I'm Carlos Martin. If you don't have someone to root for in South San Francisco, hopefully you do now. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Did you want to leave any literature or anything with us yet? Or?
I'm not that far
You're not
along
there.
yet.
Council, Vice Mayor Carlson would like to say something.
Well, that's okay. We have one thing in common that I hope you will take note of, is that we both have hold-out stations.
Right, we discussed that last week.
We need to fight together on this, along with Burlingame.
In Burlingame.
Get that.
Yeah. And so we actually had a president. I've been attending the city council meetings for the last year, and I think it was the last week or 2 weeks ago, they raised that issue. And it's obviously very important. I mean, we're fighting hard for our Caltrain station. We're developing right now a plan for how we want to redevelop our Grand Avenue and downtown area, and so it's looking, it's exciting. I'm on a downtown advocacy person. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Any other members of the public? Joshua, just 1 second. I'll let you. Joshua, why don't you go?
Sorry. Great. Good evening, Mayor Lewis and the rest of the council. My name is Joshua Bruce. I am full representative in the office of Senator Jerry Hill. Senator Hill regretfully couldn't make it out tonight. He's up at the state capitol, but he's really enjoying representing the town of Atherton. I'm actually speaking on behalf of an agenda item tonight, but one of those cases where, because of time restraints, I have to leave a little early. But I really, Senator Hill and myself, really appreciate your consideration of adopting a letter of support for Senate Bill 557, the Peninsula Protections Act. I'd like to thank Community Services Director Mike Kashiwagi, sorry, tongue twister there, for making the staff recommendation. So you're going to have the necessary materials in the report, of course, but just some quick bullet points. Essentially what the bill does is it creates a safeguard in restricting high-speed rail throughout the peninsula by a few key items, including clarifying that out of the $1.1 billion that were appropriated by the state legislature last year from the Proposition 1A funds for early investment will include $600 million specifically for Caltrain electrification and retain the 2-track system. And in order for the California High-Speed Rail Authority to expand to a 4-track system, they have to obtain approval from all 9 entities in the Bay Area that are part of the Caltrain and California High-Speed Rail Early Investment Agreement. And lastly, it's a huge job creator. It's going to be able to create roughly 9,600 jobs, increase property values, and also generate over $2.5 in local income, local revenue, while also reducing the system's greenhouse gas emissions by roughly 90%. So once again, I really appreciate consideration of the staff recommendation. Other local jurisdictions have recently approved letters of support, also include the city of Palo Alto, the city of San Carlos, the city of Burlingame, and Caltrain. So I left my contact information with the city manager, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our office. And Senator Hill, I know a lot of local members may have his contact information, so feel free to reach out to him directly as well.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you all for your time.
I think members of the council may have a question for you. This is item number 12 on our consent
Right.
agenda for the public if they want to follow along. So,
Yeah, since you have to leave, I'd like to ask you the question.
Sure.
The question is whether or not Senator Hill's office knows yet whether the California High-Speed Authority is going to support the bill.
They have not. I mean, they have not signaled that they're, what their stance is just yet. But once once they make that point, we'd be more than glad to follow up.
The other point I'll make is I did speak at the Redwood City Council meeting the other night in behalf of 557, and I think that your office could maybe follow up with that council.
Yeah, sure. With Redwood City.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And they did indeed sign the MOU between the High Speed Rail Authority and Caltrain that they indeed would expand to a 4-track system. They're in favor of the triple-bladed system.
any other? No other questions?
Great. Well, thanks
Thank
so
you.
much, and once again, feel free to reach out anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry to make you wait. I didn't mean
Perfectly
to.
all right. Good evening. I'm Jean Schaff, and I live at 29 Stockbridge Avenue. And the reason I'm here today is because my potholes were filled. And at first, I thought that was just very lovely, but it did cause some consternation because my gardener didn't want to get in there that day and so forth, but we worked it out. However, what kind of flummoxed me was that our kind of absentee town manager said there were only 3 complaints for Stockbridge problems. And I would think that 3 complaints were enough to stir him up to do better, because I'm worried about the slurry is coming in June or July. And that is, according to the Athertonian, it's going to cause even more trouble than the potholes. So I am concerned. The town manager signed a contract to live in the town, and he doesn't, or it will not, or maybe he will address that as, come to live here in the house that was designated. I'm concerned about this. I've been very concerned about Atherton politics for the entire time I've lived here, and I don't see where we're being helped that much by this staff. So that's my concern.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I bet you're glad to hear all that.
I just, I want to maybe ask the city attorney just to maybe clarify something that you did say that I think may be misunderstood, and I just don't want it to go into the public record as a statement of fact. Am I allowed to do that, sir?
Sure. I think there's a misconception that a lot of people have about the ability for a city council to require a police chief, a city attorney, a city manager, or any other employee to live in the town. It is unconstitutional in California to require it. So not just illegal, it's a little higher than that. It's unconstitutional to require it. So it can't be in the city manager's contract. There was an issue about whether or not the house would be offered, and it was offered.
I was under the opinion that it was in the contract.
It
That
cannot be in the
Chief, I
contract.
think that's why I
Ma'am,
wanted to make
ma'am,
it.
I wrote the
Well,
contract.
is that true? Is that true, Bob?
No, ma'am, I wrote the contract. It's not in it because it would be unconstitutional. I wouldn't put that in a contract.
Oh, well, I know you, so
It
I'm
talks-
questioning.
It talks about, the contract talks about the house is made available
Uh-huh,
for the city manager's use.
uh-huh.
But it can't require that the city manager use that house,
Okay, I
and
understand.
it does not.
Okay, so I just wanted to clarify that, just for the record, because, and I understand your,
Yes. So do you think we're gonna do better for the slurry?
yeah. I can guarantee that we are going to do our very, very best.
Steve
to-
Tyler told
yeah.
me that there were reports, you know, to hand out to everybody,
Right,
but the dog ate them.
well, we've got, yeah, rabid dogs.
Well, he didn't say that, I
We've
said.
got very sick
But the
dogs
wind
in
carried them
Atherton
off,
if
so
they
I
did
said
that.
it was like the dog eating it in the homework. Yeah.
Thank you so
All right,
much
thank
for
you.
bringing that to our attention.
Okay.
I appreciate that. Okay. Do we have any more public comments at this time? If not, I do. I almost forgot. I was sent an email from a resident asking to read into the record as part of public comment, and I feel that I'm bound to do that. This is from, it's a very short little letter from resident Peter Carpenter. Dear Town Council, this is a formal request that the town not begin labor negotiations until there has been a public discussion of the, quote, set of objectives for the discussions, end quote, that the council has decided in secret, and that any proposed agreement resulting from such labor negotiations be made public at least 15 days before that proposed agreement is voted on by council. The taxpayers will be required to bear the cost of any proposed agreement, and they should be given the opportunity to give you their input before negotiations begin and before a proposed agreement is voted on by the council. The labor negotiations will clearly do the same for their membership. Nothing in this request suggests that the negotiations themselves be open to public scrutiny. Respectfully, Peter Carpenter, 1 Larch Drive, Atherton. So I'm just going to forward this on to the city clerk to be made part of the public record. Seeing no more public comment, I'll close public comment and bring it back. Item number 5, report out of closed session. City Attorney, can you give us a report out of our closed session?
City Council had a closed session regarding one item regarding public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957B regarding the city manager. They discussed the issue and no action was taken.
Thank you very much. Item number 6 is the city manager's report, and there is the sub-item 6A, which is Community Center Advisory Committee report as well. City manager?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'll probably start with sub-item A. There's only one thing to announce there. On April 30th, 4:30 at 4:30 will be the first meeting of the Community Center Advisory Committee. So anyone interested in participating in that is invited to come. It's a public meeting, open meeting. It'll be here at Town Hall.
When was that?
4:30 at 4:30.
At 4:30. It's pretty easy to remember.
That is Tuesday?
Next Tuesday?
Not next Tuesday.
It's a week
I
from
was missing the
Tuesday.
date.
Yeah.
It's a
I'll get
Tuesday.
it later. I'll get it later.
Okay.
And then in the manager's report, you have the report before you. There's only a couple of things I was going to point out within it. You have a couple of sub-items to it. One is a memo from the finance director addressing the reconciliation with the police department's budget that came up at the last council meeting. The second is the city attorney's memorandum on charter cities and general law cities. A third is the Media Center report. That's a public information piece that the Media Center's APA produces for its annual report. And then I'd like to thank staff for putting the bulk of this report together because I, like Councilmember Dobby, was in Washington last week, so enjoying the cherry blossom.
So bringing it back to council, are there any comments or questions clarifying report? Do I have any public comment on the report? I just have one regarding the memo from the city attorney's office regarding the charter city benefits. Is this the extent of the discussion for the charter city? I know there's an analysis here. Is the job of the ad hoc committee finished at this point?
Madam Mayor, no. Actually, the Charter City Committee, Vice Mayor Carlson and Councilman Widmer, we have met, we've discussed, we have a draft charter that's, I would call it a 90% draft. I received comments from Councilmember Widmer today. When he is back and we're able to meet, I think the next meeting moves it along even further, and hopefully we'll be at a point sometime in the next 1 or 2 meetings where we have a draft that we can then share with the council. And then once the council comes up, if they want to go forward with a charter, obviously then there will be lots of citizen input availability. Only at that point in time. But at this point in time, it's still pretty preliminary, and we've been kind of hammering through the issues. And we're working towards putting together something that hopefully will appeal to many.
So it's my understanding that this is information only that's in our binder tonight. At another meeting to be scheduled, there will be council discussion, debate, analysis about pros and cons of changing from a general law city to a charter city, and then at that point there's more public outreach, and then at some point if council decides that they want to go forward, it would have to go to the residents on a ballot measure. Is that correct?
That's true.
Okay, all right. So, okay, that, I just wanted to clarify all that. Does anyone else have any questions about that? Okay. Okay, so we'll go on to item number 7, which is Community Organization Roundtable Report, which we have none. And then on to our consent calendar, which are items 8 through 14. The consent calendar are typically items that are routine in nature and generally considered in one motion and adopted by a single vote of the City Council. However, any member of the public or any council member has the ability to pull a consent item for further discussion or for minor comments. And I just want to remind council members that it's very helpful if they take time prior to the council meetings, if they have any questions or concerns about any items that are on the consent calendar, to talk to staff, city manager, city attorney, public works director before the council meeting, so that those questions and concerns can be considered and talked about. And so at this time, are there any members of the council who would like to pull or question any items on the consent calendar?
10.
Councilmember Dobby, you're pulling number 10?
Well, I have a question.
You have a minor question?
Minor, well, it's a
Or
question.
it's a major question?
Well, it's a question.
Okay, all right. Number 10 is a question.
I can ask it right now.
Would you like to do that?
Yeah, on
Okay.
10, you know, I know that this has come up before, but I'm really concerned about the viability of short-term. I've looked at the financials, they're burning cash at an enormous rate. The revenues are not growing, the profits are not growing, and I'm just concerned that they're gonna be in business. So I just bring that up, George. I know you've got, I read the stuff you have here, and I'm still not very happy with it.
Okay. Did you have a question?
No, that's it.
Okay, that was more of a opinion, a statement, but anyway. Any other members of the council want to pull or have questions of the consent calendar? Any members of the public have any questions or items on the consent calendar they want to have pulled? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So move.
Motion made by Councilmember Dobby and seconded by Vice Mayor Carlson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously on the consent calendar. Okay. Moving on to our regular calendar. Public hearings, there are none. Our regular agenda, item number 15, is the acceptance of our audit report, and that presentation is going to be given by our finance director, Robert Barron III. Turn it over to you.
Thank you. Good evening, council, members of the public. Before you is the fiscal year 2011-12 basic financial statements, also the compliance agreement with the distribution of San Mateo County Measure A funds for local transportation purposes, also agreed upon procedure for compliance with the Proposition 111 appropriations limit, as well as the memorandum of internal controls and required communications. The town has received an unqualified or a clean opinion from Mays and Associates. The general fund had a net change in fund balance of a negative $13,681. If we compare that to the fiscal year 10-11 of a negative $412,575 to 10-11, there's improvement. And the Finance Committee reviewed and discussed these basic financial statements and memorandum of internal controls with myself and also Mark Wong of Mays and Associates on the Finance Committee on April 9th. The committee is recommending the City Council accept the reports, and if you have any questions, Mr. Mark Wong of Mays and Associates is here in the audience to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Thank you, Robert. Bring it back to council. Do you have any questions or clarifying comments for staff at this time about the audit? Vice Mayor Crossman?
Yeah, I think one of the things you might want to point out is that the financial report that we have here does not include some of our long-term liabilities that we're going to have to disclose and put on the balance sheet in future years. Maybe you could make a comment about that in terms of what's missing and the magnitude of what that may be in future years and how that would affect the net asset number roughly in the future.
Yes, sir. What most cities have is what we call pension liabilities. That's retirement pension liabilities, and also other post-employment benefits, which is short for OPEB liabilities. And those we'll be footnoting those in the next financial statement. But as far as our OPEB liabilities, currently we would have it's a 7